Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We are so glad you could join us. So imagine watering down a drink until it's, just tap water.
Right, which totally ruins the drink.
Exactly. And that is exactly what happens to a pristine video feed when you run it through a cheap consumer splitter. Every split just halves the power.
Yeah, which is an absolute nightmare in professional audio-video setups.
Right. But today we are looking at this $265 piece of hardware that acts less like a splitter and more like, well, a magical cloning machine.
Yeah, the AJA HD5DA. It's an HD-SDI and SD-I serial digital distribution amplifier.
Right, which sounds like a massive mouthful, but we're using a spec sheet from HDTV Supply to really decode what it does and why this tiny box is a secret weapon. So what exactly is a 1x4 distribution amplifier?
Well, basically, it takes one HD-SDI or SDI video input and it turns it into 4 separately buffered outputs. And it does this in a really tiny footprint. I mean, it's just 5.8 by 2.4 by 1.0 inches.
Okay, wait, let me stop you there. Why does being separately buffered actually matter? Is it like, I don't know, giving each of the 4 video feeds its own dedicated private highway lane
Oh, yeah.
instead of forcing them to share one road that's just deteriorating?
That's a great way to put it, actually. Yeah, standard splitters just physically divide the signal voltage.
So the pressure just drops everywhere.
Exactly, like opening 4 faucets in a house at the exact same time. But this AJA box puts a dedicated electronic pump on each line. It completely isolates the signals.
Oh, wow. So if a cable gets severed on, say, output 3, the voltage doesn't just plummet on the others.
Right, exactly. That isolation prevents signal degradation, so every single screen gets a pristine, mathematically identical picture.
Okay, but having 4 perfectly pressurized outputs doesn't really matter if the water coming into the house is already a trickle, right?
Right.
How does this box handle the signal drop-off from the physical cable itself?
That's where the active engineering comes in. The device features this automatic input cable equalization for runs up to 100 meters.
Wait, really? So if my cable is a massive 100 meters long, this tiny box just actively fixes the signal drop-off on its own?
Yeah, it really does. Because when you send high-frequency serial digital interface video, the SDI part, down a long copper cable, the physics of the copper actually absorbs the high-frequency energy.
Oh, I see. So the data just gets fuzzy.
Right, the rigid square waves of the digital ones and zeros start blurring together. But this device acts as a low-cost repeater. It's not just blindly boosting a bad signal.
Because if you amplify a noisy, blurry signal, you just get louder noise.
Exactly. That's the vital distinction. It actively listens, identifies the data rate, automatically adapting anywhere from 143 megabits up to 1.5 gigabits, and it rebuilds the high-frequency data.
That is wild.
Yeah, it cleans and squares up the digital signal before it ever hits those 4 buffers.
So it's this tough, automated little brick fixing degraded video on the fly, and the spec sheet says it safely operates even in 104-degree heat.
Yep, it's built to last.
But, even with hardware that reliable, setting up a complex AV rig still comes down to the people designing it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Even foolproof tech requires a reliable human ecosystem. The HDTV Supply source material highlights their 25-year history.
Yeah, and they have over 10,000 positive reviews. I was looking at that.
Right, and if you read those reviews, customers explicitly praise staff members like Mike and Rachel.
Yeah, for steering buyers away from the wrong gear.
Exactly. Navigating these highly technical specs still really requires expert human guidance. The tech supports the professionals. It doesn't replace them.
Makes total sense. So taking all this in, the AJA HD5DA is essentially this tiny, incredibly smart workhorse. It perfectly clones and extends video signals.
For sure. It doesn't just split a signal. It rescues it, rebuilds it, and perfects it.
Right, which leaves me with this final thought for you to mull over today.
I love these.
If a relatively cheap device the size of a smartphone can perfectly clone and boost heavy data feeds over hundreds of feet of cable completely automatically, how much invisible, uncelebrated infrastructure is secretly powering the flawless screens we stare at every single day?